Hello and welcome back, fellow sim racers. You're joining me again today in another Project Motor Racing video. So today's a pretty unfortunate day. Straight4 Studios have put out an announcement that an unknown percentage of their workforce has been laid off. Now the timing of this is really significant for two reasons. Obviously the game has only just come out about 2 weeks ago now. And look, before we dive into what this means for the game and everything else, it's really important to remember that there are real people who've lost their jobs here, people with families, bills to pay, mortgages, livelihoods, and regardless of what anyone thinks about PMR as a game, and also the people who might be involved, to the people who've been impacted, they deserve empathy and they deserve respect. I genuinely hope that everyone who was let go lands on their feet and is able to find another position quickly. I'm not going to go through the entire statement, but I'll put it up on the screen briefly for those people who might not have seen it. What this does say is that Straight4 remains fully committed to improving and supporting Project Motor Racing. We know the launch didn't meet the expectations of our community or the standards we set for ourselves. Now, it's great that they've recognised this. I think we know that there's a lot of work that needs to be done to bring Project Motor Racing into the state that it needs to be in, and there's a long, long way to go before that's achieved. Now, for a while, I had faith that this was still going to be feasible and it was going to be achievable, and that in a fair few patches' time, the game would be in a really good state, because there is a solid foundation to build from with Project Motor Racing. The force feedback, as we've discussed, is really good. There's a wide variety of cars, variety of tracks, it's got crossplay, it's got its own integrated ranked system, and that's all really fantastic. But now with this news about obviously the team shrinking, it does put a bit of a dark cloud over the future of Project Motor Racing. There's a lot of unknown unknowns here, and even though they say in this update that they're still committed, it's not overly confidence inspiring as we move forward. I mentioned this in my previous video, but the thing that's still really bugging me is the lack of communication and the quality of the communication that we get when it does come out. Now, I'm fairly active in the Discord. I like to read what's going on. It's been over a week since we got the 1.5.0.1 patch, and since then, up until today, there has been complete radio silence as far as official announcements go on what we can expect moving forward. I criticised this in my last video because even though some people are of the opinion that it's better to hear nothing and get a really good patch than hear lots of things and get a really bad patch, which is true, and that's a fair statement, it's also reasonable to expect a certain level of communication, especially following the launch that PMR has had. Given the state of the Steam reviews, what people need right now is they need reassurance that steps are being made. And right now we're just kind of left to assume that that's happening. And even though it's fair to assume that is happening, we don't really know what's going on. The announcement that we got today following the announcement of redundancies is that it was fairly weak. All it really says is that the update includes refined handling across multiple classes and a range of additional improvements. Now that really doesn't say a lot. It's vague, it's pretty unclear. It just sort of says enough to keep people quiet and maintain that faith, but it all just feels a little bit empty. At a time like this, when Steam reviews are really bad, people are refunding the game, layoffs are happening, what we actually really need from Straight4 is professionalism. As far as I'm concerned, we're just not seeing that from them, and that to me is the most troubling thing. To be constantly in the dark about what's happening and when patches are coming and what's going to be involved in those patches is really quite concerning. A lot of people wouldn't be so frustrated if this game had released as an early access version of the game, but it didn't. It was full price for a V1 that was completely unfinished, and that's what's really upset a lot of people. The other thing about this as well is that with the amount of work that's still left to do to get this into a really good shape, and layoffs happening, there's a lot of uncertainty around how long this game will even be supported for. Saying that they're committed to continuing delivery with the roadmap is fine, but will it actually be financially viable for them to even do this? It remains to be seen. Despite the patch that we've already had being a positive step forward and moving the game in the right direction, it's almost starting to feel like there's a bit of bit of an expectation upon the modding community that they'll fix some of these errors. There's a mod out now for improvements to the AI, which is absolutely fantastic. For those people who want to play the game offline, that's a really positive thing. But it shouldn't be a requirement for the player base to fix the issues within the game. And for some things, this is just not possible. I mean, the big one really is the performance. The performance of this game is absolutely terrible. It's impossible for a lot of people to get the game running at a smooth and constant frame rate. If you try and do a maxed out grid with AI, there's no way you're going to make it to the end of the race, if you even make it to the end of the first lap. I tried this at Sebring with 32 cars, and it was impossible. I'm not for 1 minute suggesting that Project Motor Racing is the only game that's ever launched in a state like this, unfinished, half-baked, needs another 12 months worth of development time. It's not the first, and it certainly won't be the last. It's actually got to the point now where it's almost an expectation that a game will release unfinished. Games launch, they get more and more expensive every single year, but every year it seems like we get less and less for our money. We get more paid DLCs, we get season passes, cosmetics. I mean, Rensport is a prime example of this. I'm not going to dive into that because I don't actually own the game. I only ever played it when it was free to play. The microtransactions that included in that game were just absolutely ridiculous. But this is the trend that we're seeing, or not seeing, but the trend that's been happening for a while. Games being rushed out of the door, half-arsed, and then fixed through a series of patches. It's so frustrating to get all the marketing hype of these upcoming games. They really build people up, make them look amazing in the trailers, and then launch day comes, and they're not finished. And I just think we're at a point now where something actually needs to start being done about this. It's become too easy for these studios, and particularly the management staff who run these studios, to really push the envelope with this sort of thing, and something's got to be done about it. You know, if you went and bought a physical product and you only got half of it when you bought it, you wouldn't be particularly happy about it. So why does it have to be any different with digital products? I mean, I know that software it's continuous, and that's absolutely fine. There are cases where that needs to happen. Things break, subsequent updates break previous ones. That's all part of development. And obviously with this game, as far as I understand it, the physics engine, or whatever it is under the hood, is a lot more complicated than anything that we've had in the past. It shouldn't be an excuse to release a half-baked product. I just think that enough's enough now. There needs to be more accountability by development teams, not developers themselves, because at the end of the day, they do what they're told. You know, their work is set out for them. They're not the decision makers. But something needs to be done about this, about the way that games come out in a completely half-assed state. I really hope that I'm wrong about everything I've said about Project Motor Racing and the path forward. Really hope that they're able to turn it around and really bring this game into something special, because I do think it has that potential. Despite that though, it just seems that the road ahead now it looks particularly bleak, and it looks really uncertain as to what we can expect from Straight4 and the future of Project Motor Racing. It's worth remembering though that I'm no professional, I'm not a game developer, I don't run a game studio. These are just my opinions. I might be talking complete nonsense, and I more than likely am. Let me know what you think. If you agree with me or you disagree, let me know in the comments below. If you made it this far into the video, huge congrats to you. If you find this kind of content helpful or enjoyable, please do like and subscribe. It really does help out. But until next time, have a good one.